Hello everyone, welcome to our group presentation. Today we will introduce about the theory of relational dialectics theory. Firstly, let me introduce my group mates. This is our presentation being divided into 4 parts. The first part is about theory background. Let me pass my PowerPoint to my group mates.
Now I will introduce theory background. Relational dialectics is a theory about intimate personal connections and relationships, and applied to conflicts in relationships of friends and family members. This theory focuses on dialectic tension. Dialectical tension mainly includes 4 parts.
The dialectic between autonomy and connection refers to our desires to be independent of our significant others and to maintain close relationships with others. It is an important relational tension that shows our conflicting desires to be close and to be separate. Most people hope to have a close relationship in interpersonal communication and to make close friends, but what we need to know is that two people also need to maintain a certain distance. Next, let's watch an example video.
你能不能不要每天都在玩手机啊？能不能给我一天时间陪陪我？
我有自己圈子啊，我有自己朋友的呀，这都是我的工作嘛。按说谈恋爱每天都要黏在一起，我后来我就谈。
Like the boy in the example we have seen, he wanted to stay with the girl all the time, which means connection. The girl in the example, she wanted to have her own time to spend with her friends, which represents autonomy. Dialectic theory holds that contradictions are inherent in all relationships, and that the dynamic interplay between autonomy and connection is a significant method to understand the relationship. So the boy and the girl are seen as moving between closeness and distance throughout their relationship. Second critical tension in relational life has to do with openness and protection. It means that we want to frequently disclose personal information to our relationship partners, but we also want to protect ourselves in communication. It shows our conflicting desires, which means that we want to share something but hide them sometimes. In the interpersonal relationship, although communication partners feel that they should be transparent to each other, some individuals may not be willing to disclose their personal privacy and private events. And next, let's watch an example video.
我女朋友老是用我的钱，前2天又找我借了80万。你女朋友也这样吗？没有。
The video, boy 1 complained to boy 2 that his girlfriend spent his money. What he shows is openness. When boy 2 faced the boy 1's question, he chose to avoid talking and hide the answer. What he shows is protection. So the boy 2 is wrestling with the tension between disclosure and silence, or the openness and protection dialectic. The dialectic position feature both and with respect to candor and concealment. For example, how does boy 2 achieve a balance between disclosing his personal information and privacy? Because boy 1 may speak out the information of boy 2. This includes a gradual process from secret to full disclosure.
I believe you have some understanding of the first 2 types of dialectic tension through the previous examination of my partner, and I will explain the remaining 2: predictability, novelty, and contextual dialectics. Predictability is a type of relationship in which predictability is a state of being that seeks a stability in a relationship. People tend to want a relationship to be regular, comfortable, that is security, and security is comfort. Predictability refers to ability to predict a person's preference, taste, etc. by gaining insight into their personality and choice. But the opposite is true of novelty. A spectacular exercise that people need a little mystery and a little sudden change to make them more interesting. Without this change, in relationship they become boring, uninteresting, and ultimately bad, emotionally bad.
那我们这个星期还是要上次那样一起去爬山吧。
好呀好呀，爬山每个星期都可以减肥。我跟你说，我看到那里的万圣节有活动哎，我们要不去迪士尼吧？
好啊好啊。
As you can see from the video, the couple's predictable outcome each week is to go hiking. But the girl's sudden suggestion to go to Disneyland break their old behavioral habits, and this sudden change add more interest to a routine. Baxter and Montgomery argue that Intimate relationships are characterized by a serious contradictions or tensions in which couples struggle to balance opposing needs, such as novelty and predictability. A healthy relationship is one where both parties try to balance each other's needs, so neither of the opposing needs is necessarily better than the other. However, it is common occurrence in relationship for one side potential, like novelty or predictability, to be more prominent than the others and disrupt the balance.
There are 8 strategies for managing dialectic tension. The first part I will introduce about denial. Denial is talking about responding to only one side of the tension while ignoring the other side of the tension. Maybe you all can look at the paper sheet which in your hands. There is a story. We can focus that Tony does miss his friends, but he denied his thoughts about playing with his friend and staying alone. He chooses to stay with Jenny to do anything she likes. This is alternation. We can see the definition is about going back and forth between two sides of the tension. They will swag between two opposites then to remit the dialectic tensions. For example, like both of them can separately spend times with their friends for several hours on weekend. Tony can adjust himself and being in a good mood while staying with Jenny. It is a good way to improve their relationship. And the next one is disorientation. We can see the definition is escaping the tension. For example, like Jenny feels depressed and nervous because of happy wedding preparation. She finally chose to escape because she decided to stop their wedding and to avoid the situation happening. So this is disorientation. Integration, developing behaviors that will satisfy both sides of the tension. For example, like Tony's daughter feels bored and needs Tony's company. Meanwhile, Tony have a lot of work have to do. So that Tony make a decision to move to the family room with her daughter. So at this moment, he can keep on his work and while he have time to accompany with her daughter. It's recalibration, reframing attention so that the contradiction between opposite needs disappear. For example, like Tony feels bad and treats his kids with a bad temper. At that moment, Jenny asks him to take a break and for a long distance trip. After the trip, he feels better than before, and in the next time, he offers Jenny to have a nice trip with her friends, and then he can take good care of his daughter. And the next one is segmentation. The definition is about choosing to deal with one side of the tension in one area of life. For example, like that, Jenny is invited to attend a welfare speech. In the speech, when she did the introduction, she chose to use her own family name because she don't want her family name disappear. However, she didn't avoid her doctor use her family name like follows her husband. She just do the decision by her own situation. The next one is about balance, attempting to find a middle ground or compromise between the two opposing forces of the tension. We can look at about this example. Tony finished his talk and asked Jimmy whether he have the situation or not. If Jimmy don't share, it will hurt his friends. But if he share, he will face his privacy information will be told. So this is one way to balance he choose to talk or not. Please pay attention to the difference between balance and integration. Balance mostly focuses on compromise, which one or both parties have to give up something. You have to choose one. Integration, it's seeks to have both parties achieve. So this is the difference. The last one is reaffirmation. The definition is about accepting the tension as a normal and a healthy part of the relationship. It's neither good nor bad. It just exists a person.
Now I will focus on the angle of limitations to explain relational dialectic theory. There is a case shows a confliction between the couple. A young couple has been in a relationship for 5 years. As time goes by, both of them have many problems in their relationship, such as lack of time to accompany each other and problems of raising children. In this situation, they will have contradictions, and then they will reconsider their relationship. Normally, there are two paths ahead of them.
One is choose a new lover. Second is find a way to form the relationship between them. This is a typical contradiction. Later, I will use the 4 limits of relational dialectic theory to analyze this case. The first limitation of this theory is it is not quantifiable. Relational dialectic theory only have a framework of contradictions, do not have scientific method to accurately quantify the severity of contradictions. Let's come back to the cases. The level of the contradiction cannot be quantified, so it may not be possible to come up with effective measures to resolve the contradiction of the couple. The second limitation of this theory is this theory fails to address human motivations. People have different needs and desires, so conflicts arise. Relational dialectic theory does not describe why tensions and contradictions appear between relationships. So for the case above, because this theory cannot tell the couple why they have conflicts, it is difficult to use this theory to repair the broken relationships. The third limitation of this theory is it is descriptive rather than predictive. The theory gives a practical framework for analyzing relationships. By using this theory, people can examine relationships in the counseling practice. But relational dialectic theory cannot give a way to elevate the contradictions between two people, nor can it predict which new contradictions will appear in them in the future. So, for the couple in the case, although the couple can take certain measures to resolve the constructive between them will not be fundamentally resolved. The fourth limitation of relational dialectic theory is it can't conclude all contradictions. Because contradictions are complicated, these contradictions are caused by both external and internal factors cannot be only simply summarized by relational dialectic theory. Let's come back to the cases above, and the contradiction between this couple is also complex. Relational dialectic theory cannot be fully summarized all contradictions of them.
Now I will explain why it doesn't work and the theory how we can improve it. Relational dialectic theory cannot be used in online communication. The intimate connection between couples, family members, and friends is maintained through face-to-face. If online communication is used to maintain this intimacy, then the tension felt by individuals when expressing the contradictory desires they need will no longer be strong or even non-existent. For example, if a couple online maintains their relationship through online communication, then they will not have autonomy and connection contradictions because they both want to meet each other. Relational dialectic theory explains the existing connections between interpersonal relationships, but it does not explain the role of the media in the general public. So when we try to explain the connection between the public, relational dialectic theory will no longer be applied. For example, the relationship between animal production organizations and hunters is contradictions. But the relational dialectic theory does not work because two public groups are involved. According to the limitations of the theory mentioned earlier, we can perform a mathematical or scientific test to qualify the severity of the contradiction. Secondly, because the relational dialectic theory does not solve the motivation of human needs and desires, analyze and research on the intensity of people's motivation to satisfy the desire and how to deal with contradictions can improve the theory. Another way the theory can be extended is to make it more productive. We can predict what are the possible results of each reaction to dialectics. For example, predict the possible results besides on the corpse love circle. This will enable us to better understand how to deal with opposing desire in order to achieve the best results.
And then this is our conclusion. The relationships are not linear, and relational life is criticized by change. Construction is the fundamental fact of the relational life. Communication is central of organizing and negotiating relational contradictions. That's all. Thank you.